that we must adopt an idea and a concept of an identity of an Indian. If you read the literature of Al-Qaeda, or for matter the secret researches going on in Saudi Arabia, and I came to know this because I had a Saudi Arabian student in my class at Harvard, who one day came to ask me that I have been asked to ask you a question which is not connected with the course. So I said, you ask me after the class is over. So he asked me that we are studying this question, that when Islam went to Iran and it was being ruled by Zoroastrians, it was a 100% Zoroastrian country, within 15 years of the conquest of Iran, Iran was converted to 100% Islam. Neighborhood, which is called Babylon and Mesopotamia, they, after takeover by Islam, they converted them in 17 years to Islam, 100% Islam. The same thing with Egypt, 21 years, 100% Islam. The Christians went to Europe and they converted Europe to 100% Christian in 50 years. But in India, 800 years of Islamic rule, 200 years of Christian rule, and you are still 83%. He said, you can't understand. And the reason is that Indians or Hindus kept fighting. And it's not that the Muslims didn't join. In fact, Shivaji had a Muslim general there, and there were Hindus in Aurangzeb's army also. But those are exceptions. But the Hindus fought. And the most glorious empire we produced for 350 years was born in Karnataka. The Vijayanagaram Empire, founded in Hampi, Hastinapur. By the way, Mandara Mishra, after he converted to Hinduism, Adi Shankara appointed him as the first Shankaracharya of Shringeri. So Shringeri ashram began with that. And one of the successor Shringeri acharyas, they created Vijayanagaram Empire on the basis of two young Muslim boys who were reconverted to Hinduism. Hukka and Bukka or something like that. It lasted 350 years. It spread right up to Assam. It covered more territory than Mughal rule ever. And Mughal rule, really the core Mughal rule was from Akbar to Aurangzeb. It's 150 years only. But you see the history books, one chapter for each Mughal emperor. But Vijayanagaram Empire, one paragraph. In South India, there was an empire called Vijayanagaram Empire. North Indians even today do not know Vijayanagaram Empire. So we need a new history book to tell you your identity. And they were fighting. What about Guru Gobind Singh? What about the sacrifice of Guru Tegh Bahadur? So these are the things that have to be brought into a book. Nevertheless, I am saying today to you, first of all, this is first point. Second point is this Hindu lack of self-esteem. He becomes very, very diffident. The moment you say Hindu, oh no, see, I am not communal, please don't involve me in all this. I am not saying that what I am saying how Hindus can improve himself. How does that become communal? I can understand if I am saying Hindus must kill Muslims, Hindus must make Christians as slaves. That is communal. But if I am saying there is something wrong with us, that we are not able to bond together. We come together. For example, Kumbh Mela will come together, 1 crore people will come. Government will not invite them, nobody will invite them. They will come themselves, behave very well, there will be hardly any crime in Kumbh Mela, and then they will disperse. Because all of them have an individual relationship with God. There's no concern that 500,000 Kashmiri Pandits have been driven out from Kashmir. There's no concern that Bangladesh was 32% Hindu in 1947, today it is 7%. There's no concern that every day Hindu temples, ancient Hindu temples are being demolished in Kazakhstan and Guyana. We feel ourselves as individuals. This collective consciousness is not there because we lack self-esteem. We got wrong notions of our history. We didn't lose to foreigners because we were inferior. We lost because our rules were too civilized. We had a first rule was no fighting till the sun rises. And once the sun sets, go back to your tent and go and have a sleep. And come back the next day when the sun rises. No fighting in the villages or the towns or in the agricultural field. Fighting must be in the open Maidan only, where minimum damage is caused to the civilians. And third is that if you after get defeated, if you defeat the enemy and he apologizes, then you forgive him and send him back. So Prithviraj Chauhan sent back Muhammad Ghori 16 times. That was too much. 2 times okay, but 16 times? And the 17th time he got the support of his father-in-law and therefore he won. And the first person, and that's how Islam came to India. So these civilized rules were not appropriate for these people who came in the night, who went into the cities and rampaged it, who didn't observe any of the rules, and if you defeated them and they apologized, they came back. Each time, by the way, Ghori apologized. But he came back. So therefore, those rules are the correct. Today also the same thing. This is what he's brought out very brilliantly, Rajiv Malhotra. The rules of discourse are such that if you don't understand, you can't defeat them. Why is Mr. Rajiv Malhotra considered a dangerous man today in the United States by the left-wing intellectuals and the India, what do they call India scholars or South Asian scholars? They don't even want to call themselves Indian scholars, they call themselves South Asian scholars. What is the history of South Asia except Indian history? So, this is because he speaks in their idiom and their articulation and defeats them. If he was a raving fanatic, then they would just say he's a fanatic and dismiss him. But he comes with all the credentials that they have or would like to have, and he argues in the idiom which they understand. And therefore, if there's an unbiased crowd such as the students, they get confused. And that's why today I think there is a process of begun to somehow accommodate him. His books are being prescribed in the university. But I know him, he is not going to melt. He's come with a mission and we will take it forward. I have 2 more things to tell you. First is that breaking India is also being done through reservations. I am totally in favor of reservations for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. But I can't see why anybody else should get reservations. Because reservations should be given to only those sections of society who have never been ruling classes in our country. Just because they are poor doesn't mean they should get reservations. The Brahmins are poor, do they get reservations? A lot of rural Kshatriyas are poor, do they get reservations? So the same way Yadavas were also kings. In fact, in Dwarka they were ruling for a long time till Krishna had them finished off. Jats have been ruling Delhi. Why this ruling? And Muslims ruled for 800 years and today they want reservations. If there's anybody who should get reservations in preference to Muslims, it's the Hindu who has persecuted all these 800 years. He is the one who deserves the reservations. Christians are ruling classes. Why should they get reservations? And where does this definition of minority come on the basis of religion? Is there any country in the world that can show that minority is a religion? The United Nations had collected from all countries of the world what is the status of minorities. Thailand, countries of Latin America all wrote saying we have no minorities. Now can you believe Brazil writing that we have no minorities? They have got so many minorities. Because they say minority is only that group which is ethnically different. So Muslims are not ethnically different. They are all descended from Hindus only. Christians are not ethnically different. Scheduled caste I don't consider as minorities anyway. They are part of the Hindu community, but we exploited them. And therefore we have to make good for what they have suffered. Of course, as they join the mainstream, we should allow them. And we should go on co-opting them. Ambedkar is an example who should be called a Maharishi or a Brahmin. He should not be called a scheduled caste because he was a scholar. He went in 1915 to Columbia University, wrote a wonderful thesis on economics. PhD. But at the same time in seminars he was writing about the cultural unity of India. He says there is no country in the world which is culturally one as India is. But Jawaharlal Nehru was a bit jealous of him because Jawaharlal Nehru used the word Pandit for himself after failing in all exams. And he saw this Ambedkar with PhD and a law degree and from Columbia and from London School. So he felt jealous, like he felt jealous about Subhash Chandra Bose. So he cornered him. Do you know that Ambedkar lost his deposit in 3 successive Lok Sabha elections in Maharashtra? Because Nehru saw to it that he would lose the amount of money he spent. And he became bitter in the end. But even then he converted only to Buddhism. He was being pursued by the Christian lobbies and the Muslim lobbies to convert to their religion, but he said no. And he became a Buddhist. It was the Janata government which then gave him Bharat Ratna. He was denied Bharat Ratna. So this reservation is another method of dividing India. Caste was a wrong word, as Rajiv Malhotra has mentioned it several times. It's a Portuguese word from the word costos. We have Varna and Jati. Jati is connected with family and blood lineage. But Varna, which is fourfold, has nothing to do with birth. 2 Maharishis, Bhrigu and Bhardwaja, decided that for a stable society, the power should be decentralized. And Bhrigu said there are 4 sources of power: knowledge, weapons, wealth and land. And he said no one person should have more than 2 or more than one of this. So if you have knowledge, if you are specialized in knowledge, you will not have weapons, you will not have wealth, you will not have land. And he said they should be venerated. They were called Brahmins. And it was not necessary that you should be born in a Brahmin family, nor it was a disqualification. Veda Vyasa was born, his mother was a fisherwoman. He was called Maharishi, he wrote the Mahabharata. Valmiki was born of people who had been pushed out of the society. They were called untouchables in English. But his parents were Dalits. But he became a Maharishi and wrote the Ramayana. Same thing with Kalidasa. He was a hunter. He came from a family of hunters and he became the greatest poet India has produced. Vishwamitra was not a Brahmin at all. He was called the Rishi of Rishis. Even the gods bowed before him. But his parents were Kshatriyas. Ravan, as I told you, was a Brahmin. And you call him Dravida. When Ramayana describes when Ravan's body was brought to the palace and Mandodari wept over him, she said, "Oh Arya Putra." I showed this to Karunanidhi also. Now, this was the fact which has been completely forgotten. Of course, today we can't modify and reform the Varna. Jati doesn't matter. It is mostly used for families. And ultimately, it also has no blood significance. Over the years, coming years, we should have a movement to slowly identify ourselves as nothing but Hindus and leave caste completely outside. So we need, therefore, to start getting our act together, because with this media, this globalization, these opportunities, this materialism that has come into our system, corruption, we are targets. The Hindus are under siege. India's unity is under threat. We have to now build a new Indian whose identity is clear and who understands the true history of India. And then where we have a tradition, we are 100% Hindus. Parsis came, looked after them. When the British left India, they told the Parsis, we can give you reservations in Parliament like the Anglo-Indians we have given. The Parsis said, the Hindus have looked after us for thousands of years, you go, don't worry about us. The Jews were persecuted everywhere, we looked after them. The first resolution passed after the creation of Israel was, thank you India, you are the only country in the world which did not persecute the Jews. So I don't have to explain to anybody as a Hindu that I can accommodate everybody. But when it comes to nation building, let us be clear, there are forces working to break up India, and they want to see balkanization. It's not that countries haven't broken up. Soviet Union has broken up into 16 countries, Yugoslavia into 4. Indonesia is also, they had a small piece which got cut out. There are constant efforts to see that countries other than the dominant Western Christian ethos break up. So India is also under target. India is a threat. India is a bigger threat because our concepts are now being accepted by the Americans. But if we have our mind clear, then we'll not be victims. And it is towards this end. This lovely book has been written. The next book is even better. And I'm sure that when he writes the history book of India, it will be even better. Thank you.